Alright my friends, how you all doing? Welcome back to the channel, and finally my friends, welcome back to our community build series in Planet Zoo, Jamii Conservation Park. I want to first and foremost start by apologising for how long this has taken to get this episode out, but when we get into today's episode, you're going to understand exactly why. Things are going to run a little bit different in today's episode as well. We'll explain all in a moment, but if you've not seen last episode yet, what have you been doing with yourself? Because you've had 3 weeks to watch it, but yeah, if you've not seen it yet, my friends, it's linked above for you right now. But essentially, we've built this beautiful Gemsbok habitat that you can see on the screen right now. We had a lot of fun in the live streams on the run up to it, but if you want to go watch any of that, feel free to go do so, and I've linked last episode above for you, my friends. Right, so where today's episode is concerned, I'm trying to keep this one, a little shorter. I have my reasons for it. Basically, when we get to the build section, you're going to see there's a lot to go through, so much to go through, and so I wanted to try and free up some time. So what we're going to be doing in today's episode is I'm not going to be reading the comments out for the first time. Basically, my thought process behind this is that it's been 3 weeks since we uploaded an episode, and those although the comments have relevance, the people that have been watching the live streams probably don't want to go over those comments again. What I do want to say, though, is the comments have not been ignored. I promise you, they've not been ignored. They are, all of the big points have been taken from all of them. They've all been written down. All your ideas have been taken, and I am still going to be taking comments. And from next episode, I'm still going to be reading your comments out. I just don't want to do it today because I'm trying to free up a bit of time so that I can do more explanation on, what we've built and, the zone that you picked and all that sort of stuff. So I apologise for not reading them out, but like I say, do not worry. It's only for today's episode, and I want you to be getting your comments in today's video, as you always would, my friends, okay? So do not fret, they are going to be coming back. So first and foremost, the big bit of business that we need to do is I need to unveil the zone that you guys went with, and you will see the results on the screen right now, and we're going with Zone A, which is a big zone. It's the Tropical House zone, but we'll just quickly go through it. You'll see 14 votes for that. 3 votes for Zone B, and 7 votes for Zone C. You will, of course, get a chance to vote on B and C in today's episode at some point. So do look forward to the zone part of today's episode. Like I said in last episode, I'm not going to be offering up any more zones until all of these ones are gone. Then I'll offer you up a bunch of new ones, basically. I may do a bit of a weird thing in today's episode, though, and offer you up basically 2 rectangles. You will see why when we get to the build section, why I'm going to offer you those rectangles up, and I will explain as well. But I might include them as part of Zone B or Zone C. It will all make sense when we get to it. So basically, Zone A is what we've gone with, ladies and gentlemen. That's what we're going to be using in today's episode. And so with the magic of editing, we're going to skip forward 5 years, because that's exactly what we've got to do, because we're going to be unlocking a bunch of new squares and rectangles. I'll see you in May of the year 86. And so here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We have gone forward the 5 years. Like I said, the magic of editing, it makes it so much easier and so much quicker. And like I already said, apologies for no comments. I know this probably is a little bit weird to be doing it this way, but it'll all make sense when you basically see what we come up with. So I have unlocked this area, ladies and gentlemen. I am just going to throw it out there that during the course of the live streams, we unlock this, and this as well to free up a bit more space. There's a big reason for it. We just didn't have enough room, essentially. And so we decided during the course of the live streams that we were going to unlock them. What I am going to do right now is, just so you can get an idea of space, is I am going to just delete these out as well. Because I feel like it's important. I really do feel like it's massively important that you see just how much space was required, essentially, for the tropical house. So there you have it, my friends. This is what we're doing. This is where we're going with today's episode. It's all about the tropical house. It's all about, how we go about attacking this tropical house area. And it ended up being a very intense build. As you can see, it took me 3 weeks to complete it. That's kind of how mad it was. Obviously, during the course of those 3 weeks, I haven't been working on it every day. Things have been coming up. I do have a personal life as well. I do have a young daughter. So I'm sure you can imagine that it's taken us a long time because of the, how intense the build was, how complicated it was. I had real issues with sort of like perimeters, fencing and stuff like that for the animals, which you're going to see when we get to the build section. Now, usually at this point, I would kind of use the cursor and map out exactly where bits are going to go. But instead, for today's episode, I've done something very special and I've created a plan. Essentially, you could call this a map, if you like, that could be used for the future. And you're going to see it on your screen right now, ladies and gents. I shared this in the live streams. If you are one of the people that doesn't watch the live streams and you wait for the episodes, I'm always going to include everything that I do in the lives in the recordeds, basically. So don't fear, don't fret. If you feel like you're going to miss anything, you are not. Everything that we do in the lives, you will get to see, in the episodes, basically. So as you're going to see, right in the middle is the old factory that has been reconditioned, refurbed into the, JCP tropical house. We've gone very South American for our tropical house. There was lots of people asking what animals were going to be in it. We were, I was umming and ahhing what animals we should do, because I wanted there to be plenty of movement inside the tropical house, but they still needed to be animals that could potentially run near the guests and stuff like that. So we couldn't go anything too large. So we couldn't really go chimps. We couldn't really go with orangutans or anything like that. So we settled on capuchins, and once I settled on that, then I settled on this being a sort of South American feel area. So if we're looking at the plan, as you can see, the main tropical house is in the middle. That's going to be sort of like an indoor tropical sort of rainforest enclosure that the capuchins and the tapirs will have access to. If we go as if we're going to go on the trail, so if we go from sort of like left to right, west to east, on the west side, you will see there's a start of a jaguar enclosure. There is going to be a catwalk, and there's going to be a secondary jaguar enclosure where its hard shelter and backstage stuff is, to the back of the front foyer area. In that first building, that's going to be, there's going to be some sort of like knoll exhibits that house sort of like reptiles, bugs, and that sort of stuff. I've held off doing the insects in this in this build because I want to do a big insect house at a later date, because that's something that's been flagged up by a few people, lots of ideas where the insect house is concerned. So I want to do that at a later date, but instead we are going to move all the frogs over into here. We're also going to build like a big Amazon sort of river tank and stuff like that, and it's all going to be foliaged up and look really, really beautiful. There's also going to be like a glass viewing area, so you could potentially spot the jaguar going overhead. You carry on walking through, you enter the rainforest room. This is going to be two-tiered, so there's going to be viewing areas from the bottom, and there's also going to be a viewing gallery, I guess you could call it, platform at the top that you're going to be able to walk around in a 360 loop. And then the bottom is going to be in like a U, basically, that you would follow all the way around, and then you go to the exit. When you come to the exit on that side, you will see there is an outdoor capuchin and an outdoor tapir part to their exhibits. Essentially, the capuchin's one is properly joined up. The tapir's one is joined up by way of a sort of like gated area at the back that goes behind where the toilets and a little seating area is and stuff. You come down, you'll see there's a wet house slash hard shelter for the tapirs. We're going to build a pool in there. Basically, they're going to be able to swim and stuff. Guests will be able to go into the building and see the tapir indoors, see it a bit more up close, a bit more personal. You carry on walking around and you're sort of back at the restaurant. It's going to be heavily foliaged up. As you can see, there's lots of planters there. Reason for this is we want it to feel like you're very immersed in like, deep, dense vegetation, forested area. Obviously, the plants on the outside, we've got to be careful what plants we choose to go with. It is a temperate environment. We want to make sure that if we do go with any tropical species, they can grow in this sort of environment, because we're going for that realism. The other thing I didn't mention is obviously you can see the anteater is going to be in this area as well. That's going to have a dark room and an outdoor exhibit just past the jaguars, basically. So the plan sort of explains it all. I've kind of done it in the best possible way that I could. I do think the plan ends up, I do think the actual final build really ends up looking like the plan, even if we didn't have enough space to finish a couple of bits. You will see there's staff quarters, backstage areas. Unfortunately, they've not been finished because we run out of room. We don't really have the space for it. So I am going to have to unlock some more sort of like squares and rectangles at a later date to get this finished. But that can be offered up in new zones, basically, after we've finished the zones that we've got on offer. But I guess really now, this is the exciting part. We're not going to hold off any further. Let's get into the build section. And so, ladies and gentlemen, here it is. I present to you Jamii Conservation Park's Tropical House area. It's more than a tropical house. This has become a South American area on its own. I actually don't think I'm going to brand this area as a tropical house anymore. I think this is going to be the South American experience that everybody would want. I actually think there's space for us to put the llamas in at a later date as well, and they would really sort of cap off the South American feel that we've got in the area. Obviously, the outside is very much a mix of the temperate environment with some tropical planting thrown in. We'll get into all that, my friends. We've got so much to go through, and this is one of the reasons why I didn't want to go over the comments. A lot of the comments, by the way, were just talking about what they would like to see from the tropical house, what they would like to see from the interior, ideas, and what, you know, I could basically implement into the build. And a lot of it I did. I took inspiration from every single one of your comments. At the end of the day, you guys are in control. You always have been from day one, and essentially none of this would have been possible without the input from you guys. And I think we've created something very, very special. It has to be said. Everything works. There's a few bits that I think are a little... They're not very good looking on the eye, but the good thing about them is they're part of the backstage, so we can get around it. But we're basically going to go on a bit of a tour of our South American tropical house area now, and I really, really, really hope that you enjoy it. I really hope you like what I've done, and I hope it all sort of makes sense to you guys as we do work our way around. So as you will see, we haven't done the planting here yet. I'm going to be completely honest with you. This build is around about 90% done. There's a few little bits and bobs that I still want to add to this. I still feel like we need a few more sort of educational boards, really big ones explaining more about habitat. I think we need some rainforest, educational stuff on the interior, which is something I need to get round to. But I just kind of run out of time, and 3 weeks have gone by without us doing an episode, and I really felt the need to bring it out. I know you guys have been really, really fantastic, on the Discord and whatnot, keeping you up to date, but I know not everybody is part of that. There's people that watch this series that are not part of the Discord or the lives, and so I've really wanted to get an episode out. So as you can see, this planting here isn't finished. I've got to get that done, but I think I'll be able to really concentrate on that a bit more once I get this parking. I've been putting this off and putting it off. Big reason for it is I needed to know where the perimeter was for the tropical house. Now I know how much area I've got to deal with. I'll be able to get that done, at a later date. But let's walk through, shall we? Now, obviously, we've got this big sort of wooded area here. Mainly, that's just to mask all the stuff that's going on. I am going to be running some wooden fence down here at some point. Didn't bother at the moment because I'm still not really too sure and not too finished on that. As you can see, there is elevation. We've worked our way up some steps to go into this area. There's also a ramp here that was like part of the restaurant. It's all really kind of like worked in well. This here, it's kind of like a photo point. It's like a photo opportunity, essentially. You walk around the back, you stand there, you take a photo. You got some heavy sort of foliage in the background and whatnot, with this beautiful little sort of picture frame. Someone came up with that idea, and I really, really liked it, and we kind of just put this together. And I actually put some of these South American pieces to good use for a change. So we're not gonna go this way. As you can see though, like all the foliage is really dense. It's not finished. There's still a little bit of foliage that needs doing, and I've gone with a very different way of doing the foliage, and I will explain why in a moment, basically. So if we walk through, this is sort of like the entry point, I guess you could say, of South America. And so yeah, you walk through, ladies and gents, and you are met with a very, very pretty plaza. I do think it has to be said, this sort of area outside is very, very pretty. All the planting and whatnot kind of makes it so. Like I was saying with the planting, I've done very loose planting at the front. I wanted it to look like these were put in brand new, essentially, and that's kind of like why I've done it. The big thing that you're going to notice here, first and foremost, is, of course, the catwalk. I've gone with a very, very industrial feel about majority of the stuff that I've done on the outside. This was a factory. The story of this area, that this was a factory that was on the land that wasn't allowed to be destroyed. It was a listed building, and so the zoo has gone about extending that factory and basically repurposing it, and they've gone with this industrial feel to kind of show the history of the factory, and so that's kind of like the reason why I've done the catwalk the way I have. It does work. It works beautifully. There's a few janky moments, but you get that with all the animals, especially animals that climb, I've noticed on this game. But yeah, it does work, and a nod to Tove, because without him I probably wouldn't be able to get this to work. I watched the video that he did with the catwalk, and he puts wooden climbing parts here, and basically the size can be made a little bit smaller. So a nod to him. So you are obviously met with your first sort of education board. The reason I put this here is obviously you're going to see the Jaguars walking over, so it makes sense to have a little Jaguar education board here. Now, if you was to walk up this way, you're going to come to your first sort of viewing area for your Jaguars, and eventually we are going to have our anteaters at the top. We can't have them in there at the moment because we've run out of space, and like I say, I am going to be offering up 2 rectangles in today's episode, essentially so I can get that done should you vote for that zone. We have got lots and lots of education basically in this area. I wanted it to be very sort of educational based, and so I've gone with that sort of way of thinking. As you can see, the floor design, I've not quite finished it up here. Reason for that is obviously I need to get all this area at the back finished first. This viewing area is very, very nice. This is a running theme. These colours and these viewing shades and stuff is very much a running theme on the outside here. So I guess do get used to this sort of like wooden design with the brick walls and whatnot. Essentially, these were the walls that were here. They've just been painted, repurposed, and all that good stuff. I like this little education board that I put together. This is our Meet Our Jaguars. Essentially, our male is a black sort of like panther jaguar, I guess you could call him, and then we've got the original sort of yellow and black spotted sort of like jaguar as well, and that's our female. I will introduce you to the animals. I'm going to throw it out there right now. All the animals are already on exhibit. I know usually we do that together, but I had so much testing to do, I had to put them on exhibit. As you can see, we've actually gone forward well over a year because of the amount of testing I had to do. I had to keep pressing the play button. We spent a lot of money, by the way. Nearly $200,000 went on this big build. So yeah, a lot of money has been spent. A lot of the coffers have sort of been drained by the zoo. As you can see, this is going to be the start of the anteater building. I have started to put the pieces in place. This is going to be the bit the guests go into. There's going to be a big dark room that's going to take up the majority of this space here, and then there's going to be an outdoor exhibit a bit later on. But like I say, we run out of space and wasn't able to get that done. Now, if we're looking at the Jaguars enclosure, this is what I've gone with. I've basically taken a lot of big cat enclosures. I took a look at them. I wanted to see how they were doing things, and essentially I came up with this idea. So the back area of it, you want to be sort of a private area. There's always a walkway at the back that's very private for the cat should they want to get away. There's usually a raised platform for them to sleep, or so they can, look out on everything that's going on. And then we've gone more natural in this. You've got to imagine that the rocks are sort of fake. A lot of zoos will do this fake rock, work and whatnot. And essentially that's what we've done. Now, I basically housed this pool inside the rocks at the beginning of this. Someone did mention that obviously jaguars require a lot of room. Apologies for the little break there, ladies and gents. My mum just turned up and I'm the only one at home and had to let her in, bless her. So she's now sat downstairs making herself a cup of tea. But yeah, like I was saying, I've housed this little swimming pool inside all of this rock work. After doing a lot of sort of research on jaguars, they love water, a bit like tigers. They really, really like the water. So I decided to give them this nice pool here. I probably might turn this into a bit of a waterfall type thing. As you can see, there's sort of a gap here. We could sort of run a pump up the back and then have the water trickling down into this. It doesn't have to be anything too crazy, but I think it might look nice potentially to add that to the exhibit. There's a nice fallen tree as well, just really gone natural. I have been a real stickler for sort of like vegetation. I recently went to Colchester Zoo and they've got a jaguar, and vegetation was on another level inside the exhibit. Real dense bamboo, long grasses, even more dense than this. You could barely see the animal. It was so dense, but that's sort of like the habitat that they're from. That's sort of they're trying to recreate it, and that's what I've tried to do here. I've gone very, very heavy on the vegetation, but still left these avenues for the animal to move around, and so our guests can see our beautiful, beautiful jaguars. As you can see, they're both here in the front, which is always nice to see. All of the food is in this area because this is the only one that our keeper has access to because of the nature and because of the way we've had to build the enclosure. But yeah, if you essentially work your way around the back, you can see there's a clear path for our jaguars to kind of follow, and I've done that on purpose. Then you would come up here, and essentially they walk all the way up and through the catwalk, and that catwalk, you will see in a moment when we go inside this building, actually goes inside the building, and there's a chance to view the animal from either side when it goes through. And then it comes to the back here, which is where their other part of the habitat is concerned. They come through this doorway. Now, the only thing I don't like about this is obviously how big the door is. The door's absolutely massive, but unfortunately, it has to be. I tried to make this a bit smaller. The animal doesn't walk through if we try to make it any smaller. Obviously, guards above the doors and all this sort of stuff. I've really tried to stick with the realism. I'm sure there's a few bits and bobs that I still need to add, but just haven't got round to it yet. But yeah, this is the back side of the exhibit, and to pull the animals over here, I've put a lot of their sort of enrichment, scratching posts and that sort of stuff back here. And then you will see their hard shelter is at the back. Again, this doorway has to be far too wide, but it is what it is. It's one of those things, we just kind of have to deal with it. But yeah, then you go inside here, and this is their sort of hard shelter area, basically, ladies and gents. So both sides can be separated, but they can also be joined by way of a gate. This is something that's really, really popular with the big cats and whatnot. The only bit I do need to do is I probably need to add another door at the back here, which would be sort of access for when our keepers would take them off facility. The reason I haven't done that is because we don't have the space back here to be able to do it. So that's the big reason why I've not finished all the back of the building. But I really, really like their hard shelter. I think this is probably one of the most realistic big cat enclosures that I've done, especially with this sort of being the area that the zookeepers would come in, obviously the switches for the doors and whatnot. And so yeah, I really like it, really rate it. I think, you know, I'm really slowly starting to get there with the interiors being as realistic as they need to be. So that's sort of our jaguars, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, there's a plant in here. I've planted this up like it's brand new, essentially. It might look a bit weird, but essentially that's how I'm doing it. I want it to look new at the moment, and then as time goes on, I will probably go back, change them, and make them a bit more dense. So that's the jaguars. We now move on, and we go into our tropical house, ladies and gentlemen. And this is the first room that you are met with. And I'm absolutely in love with this room. This is probably my favourite room in the entire build. And that's saying something, because it just houses frogs at the end of the day. But I just love how this room come together. We did a lot of this room live on stream. A lot of the other stuff you guys didn't get to see, but this we really did bring together. Like I say, 90% done. There's still bits and bobs that need adding, you know, like I don't know, fire alarms and that sort of stuff. I do have to do all of those little pieces of work. I've got to put cameras in and all these sorts of things, but the majority of it's done. This room actually sounds like a rainforest. We've put in loads of speakers to really sort of like immerse you in that feeling. But yeah, essentially you've got frogs of the forest on this side, a nice little information board, loads of information at the bottom. You know, the frogs of the forest, our frogs have all been moved over. The only one that hasn't is the big sort of African Goliath frog. Didn't want to move it over because it's not South American, basically. We will move that chap basically to an exhibit later on down the line. And then on the other side, essentially it's a null habitat, but it is the Amazon River, and this is our tank that we put together. More education over this side, sort of representing the Amazon, and so on. And then we move forward. Obviously we've got these benches. They do actually have seating in them. Really, really clever way of kind of disguising it and bringing the area together. And then you walk around this way. This little plant probably needs a bit more in it, but I haven't done so. This is obviously null habitat over here as well. Just felt like those walls needed something, so we just added in a little fakery. If you walk your way over here, ladies and gentlemen, this is the viewing area for this back part of the jaguar habitat. We are essentially going to really, really cover that in dense foliage at the back there, so this is probably going to be the best way to see the animals as they work their way through. And then, as you can see, some nice sort of information and education on the area. I've really gone unique with the education boards around here. I really wanted to bring something new to the build. And then, as you can see, this is sort of like the big one over here, the tree frogs. They're sitting right in the middle of the exhibit, and a lovely bit of education for those as well. From here, the only way is into the tropical house room. Now, the one thing I haven't done, and you wouldn't be able to see it because we're paused anyway, is I haven't added the misters yet. But other than that, this room's pretty much done. There's a wall here that I want to add something on, but other than that, I do really feel like this room's done. So I'm keeping everything crossed that you like it, because I'm happy with it. I think it's really turned out lovely, and yeah, let's just go in, shall we? So you would walk through the doors. On this wall here, I want to put a big education thing about rainforests. That's basically what I want to do. I think that would complete this wall very, very nicely. And then on this wall here, I want to put some writing saying the viewing gallery and an arrow up, so they know that you would go upstairs to the viewing gallery, basically. I'm gonna do the upstairs first, and then I'll do this downstairs second, because the downstairs is how you get out, basically. So yeah, you would walk up the stairs, ladies and gentlemen. So you go up the stairs, and you are in the tropical house. And if we turn around, you will see the tropical house in all of its glory. If you can hear Rolo barking in the background, it means the builder's probably just turned up, which is another big pain in the bottom, because I'm probably going to have to go and deal with that as well. But yeah, as you can see, the tropical house is here. This is what it's looking like, and this is what I was saying about the viewing area. I didn't actually show you the other side, so you can actually see the jaguars from this side walking through, as well as from this side. So this sort of part of the tropical area is dedicated to our jaguars. Obviously, lots of information, lots of education about the jaguars all here. We've got this lovely statue as well that I could imagine sort of like a sculpture sort of donated to the zoo. We put that there. A little bit of seating, so this is sort of like our jaguar corner, basically. Over here, I want one more education board here that I want to try and create, that's sort of about poaching and that sort of stuff. I think that would be really interesting to bring to the party. As you can see, the colors, I've gone blue, light green, and then the bottom is dark green. I've kind of tried to represent sort of like the levels of the rainforest, and as you can see, when you really look forward with the foliage, it really sort of comes together and adds itself up. There is a lift, obviously, here for people that can't manage the stairs, people in wheelchairs, the older generation, etc. So yeah, I have added a nice sort of lift in as well. But yeah, let's walk around this way first, shall we, ladies and gentlemen? So as you can see, this is almost a bridge here. Information board on this side. You look this way, these are the beautiful windows that I custom built, that we went over quite heavily in the live stream, because I wasn't sure on them. I didn't know if they fit or not, but a lot of people really like them. So yeah, you continue walking up this way. Lots of foliage, lots of education. As you look out into the sort of tropical room, you'll see it's very dense with all of the planting. You can slowly start to see little things like climbing frames, our capuchins, our tapir is down there, but I'll take you through all of what I've done down there a bit more in a moment. We carry on walking up this way. You'll see the little rope. This is the exit point for our capuchins, believe it or not. This was a big part of this build, really clever way of doing it, but I managed to get around it. Walk around, lots of education up this end, more seating. I want this to be somewhere that people would come and spend a bit of time in the zoo, so that's why I've really sort of heavily seated it up as well. More climbing, as you can see. I'm going to go over the bit in the middle properly in a moment, but yeah, you carry on walking down, and just more education boards. These are more about sort of like the plants and whatnot that you can find inside, and then another one for our tapir there, and that's sort of the loop that you do at the top, ladies and gents, of this. I've really tried to go with sort of like ventilation. These would be heavily vented and whatnot. We've got those vents there. We've also got vents up the top on either side, lighting and whatnot. The big sort of thing that I love about this is obviously we've done the big glass roof, but essentially this is where the misters, where the sprayers and all that would be. I've tried to do it so that, this is the water pipes working their way all the way through, from either end, basically, and that's where all the water would be supplied, basically, to keep all of these, all of the plants sort of like lush. They're getting the natural light, but they would require, water and heavy humidity as well. Obviously, you'd have to imagine that the temperature would be, quite high in the room. But yeah, that's basically this part of the build. So if we go back down the stairs, I will take you through the bottom part. This is why I didn't do comments. You can see there's lots for me to show you basically in this build section, ladies and gentlemen. So we walk around here, you're met with another couple of sort of like null exhibits. Basically these speakers are just to supply some rainforest noise. I've been really clever about the way that I've done all of the speakers and stuff in this area. What I will do is that is going to be a cinematic episode coming up really, really soon. I'm not going to be talking during that. We're literally going to let the sound effects do the talking in that episode. So you'll really get to feel what this, what's become of this sort of area when we do that cinematic, and you'll be able to hear all the noise. Again, more education down here for the tapirs. What I've also done down here is, we've got some seating and whatnot, but I've done these, and these are sort of like examples of, the wood, the foliage, that sort of stuff. Education here. So it's very, very educational driven, this area. And so, yeah, gone with that there. More planting and whatnot. And then, as you can see, there's a big glass viewing area. And so you get a very different view of the sort of rainforest from down here. You obviously get a good view of the tapir as it enjoys a dip down there. But yeah, this is a very sort of different view of the area in this part. More education, and then you would walk around here, ladies and gentlemen, and this is your exit. What I do feel like I need is I need to put something in down here, basically, that would represent... I'm trying to work out what that is. I'm trying to work out where's that come from. That's come from upstairs. Okay, I can sort that out. It's not a problem. So yeah, I'm trying to put, like those plastic sort of flaps that you walk through, essentially. I need to try and put some at this end and the other end, but there's no sort of material in the game that you can sort of recreate them with, that I was happy with, but I do need to do that. What I've tried to do as well is I've put elephant grass in long parts, big parts of this section down here to try to restrict the capuchin from coming down here. I don't really want the capuchins in this area. I want to try to keep them in the middle if I can, so that's the best place for the guests to see them. There is another little viewing window down here. This is just a better viewing area for the pool that we've built for the animals, and actually you can see quite a few animals at this moment in time, can't you? So let's walk out, make our way through here. You can see the tapir is having a dip. We've got one of our capuchins here, which is great to see. So essentially, this is where they come in, this way. There is a sort of staff room here. There's a window, a viewing window here. See this? This is the capuchins. This is how they go to their backstage building. They don't actually have access to it. I didn't really feel like they needed to. The tropical house can work as a hard shelter. Basically, the logistics of trying to get this to work as well just led to the animals escaping so much, and I just didn't think it was necessary to do it. But essentially, that would be their hard shelter building. If we was to work up this way, this is the Jaguar one here. This is 2 kitchens. I've put them in this side. This would be like a store cupboard, and this is sort of like the entrance for our staff to come in this way. So yeah, it's all done very, very well. If the staff were to work their way up here, this is the button they press to obviously open the doors. You come back this way, and this is the tapir's hard shelter, basically. This is sort of their living quarters for the outdoor and the indoor sort of area where our tapirs would come together. I've got 2 tapirs at the moment. I've split them up, but I am actually thinking about putting another one outside with the one in the outdoor area, because it's a very large enclosure, and I think that we could then essentially have 3. We have 1 indoor one and 1 outdoor one. The reason why I've had to separate them the way I have is because the monkeys could get outside and then they could just run riot. So I've had to do it this way, unfortunately. I've had to close the 2 off. There won't be any walking from outside to inside. It is a bit rubbish, but it's the only way I could get around it, unfortunately. The monkeys were... Basically, the biggest problem with this build was keeping the monkeys inside. It really, really was. They were the biggest pain. I've basically... Now, it's perfectly imperfect down here. That's the one thing I'm going to say. That's the best way to describe it. It probably looks ugly from down here at eye level, but when you're upstairs, you can't really notice it. But I've mulched the bottom because this is sort of like more of the texture that you would get from the bottom of the rainforest. It was just so difficult to get the proper texture with the paint tool in a temperate environment. So yeah, I've gone with the mulch instead, and it actually works out really, really well. Obviously heavily planted. I've done a pool area because obviously tapirs do like to swim, and then yeah, just heavily planted. There's so much going on. There's obviously lots of sort of enrichment and food and whatnot hidden in here. You're going to see there's more climbing frames, another sort of platform for the monkeys over here. You kind of keep working your way through. There's lots of wood and whatnot. There's a foliage box. It's so much stuff all hidden in down in this area. It's really very clever because upstairs you cannot see any of this is going on. There's a door there for our staff, obviously, to make their way into the exhibit if they really need to. Even hidden a feeder inside the plant and whatnot. Like there's just so much going on downstairs in this area. So yeah, that's essentially the tropical house. Like I say, I am going to be doing cinematics really, really soon, and so you'll be able to get a really good feel for how the build has come together. Let's work our way outside, shall we, ladies and gents, so we can zoom out a little bit now. So you then come to the back side of the building, and again, this is like multiple exhibits back here, but we've got our first sort of like guest facility as well. We've got a toilet, essentially. That's what we've done. We've placed a toilet in there. There is a staff room here. There is access via a gate here for our staff, and there is a staff room there. I felt like we needed a staff room. I felt like it was very much something that needed to be placed back here. So that is there, ladies and gentlemen, for our staff to enjoy. This is a look at the backstage area from above. It's very, very cool. I'm going to be honest with you. Really different to anything we've done before. And this is kind of like a look at the top of the reptile facility as well. I really like it. I think it's really cool. I did manage to put some windows in, by the way. They're a bit smaller than the ones in the front, but I did manage to get some in. That was something that we were discussing a lot on the lives. I haven't finished the backstage area because we don't have it unlocked. I just took these out temporarily so I could place doors and whatnot and get a feel for placement. But essentially, there's one gate there, which is for the tropical house. There's a gate here, which is for the outdoor tapir. And then there's a gate here, which does the jaguar. It's unbelievable that that's how many we needed, but that's how we got it done. So yeah, you come back here and essentially you've got your outdoor tapir exhibit. So this would be the route they would take. This is a holding pen here, because you can see there's a gate there and a gate there. This would be a holding pen that we would hold the animals. This is a gate off exhibit, so if ever need moving and whatnot. And then into this section is the outdoor tapir exhibit. This still needs a little bit of work. I understand that tapirs prefer heavy, dense foliage, and so this is quite open. Still needs a little bit of work, but it turned out quite nice. We've got this obviously swimming area as part of the tapir's, makeup and enclosure, and then you walk this way, and as you can see, he's having a bit of a climb, which is a bit strange. This is the sort of indoor, sort of like wet room / hard shelter that's back here, and essentially this is what we've done. There's a pool there, lots of sleeping area, and we'll go through the proper door for the guests to take a look at this building. But yeah, that's basically the outdoor tapir. As you can see, lots of sort of seating, lots of planting. Still needs finishing. Foliage is very, very difficult work. I have got bins in. I've not put the covers on yet. This is the outdoor capuchin exhibit. Again, like I said, these visors were going to become a very sort of like themey and running sort of like running theme for the area. This does actually keep the animals in. A lot of you are probably thinking that gap isn't enough, it isn't big enough, but as you can see, Mr. Capuchin is testing this, but it works, and they can't get out. So we've actually done like a watered trough around the edge to make it more of an island, so it is more of a Capuchin island. That's where they come out, believe it or not, right there. It's quite high up, but it's kind of like the only way we could do it, and just a very sort of like very, very simple sort of climbing frame area, because I just feel like they get so much enrichment from inside. It didn't need to be anything too crazy out here. Lots of people are probably going to come down on me for how flat this is, but please do appreciate this isn't the biggest landmass, and this is, this water here does restrict you from doing lots of stuff. Education, again, lots of education here. Again, another viewing area from this side, just a different angle that you can look at it from. And yeah, that's the climbing area. So essentially, how they get outside is through this area here. So they would come down this way. I'm aware they would be able to jump probably up there, so I do need to put some sort of guards and whatnot at the top. Just like I say, it's 90% done. There's loads of little finicky bits that need sorting out. But that's the outdoor capuchins, basically, and that's the idea that I went with for that. More foliage, lots of education still, and then you come to sort of like, this is where the guests would view the indoor area of our tapirs, basically. So yeah, you walk your way through. This is basically going to be have education in it, and I'm going to have some education along the wall as well. I just haven't got around to doing that, run out of time basically. And then yeah, this is the indoor area for the tapirs, so you'll be able to stand here, you'll be able to see them having a swim, you'll be able to have them walking around and whatnot, and it's just a cool little way to come and look at the animals a bit more sort of like up close and personal. You walk out and then you walk round, and you are back where you started, basically, ladies and gents. You're back in this sort of foyer area. You can have a sit down, you can grab yourself a drink. We've got one of those education boards, and yeah, essentially that's that. That's the tropical house. That's South America. That's that. And I'm sure you can all appreciate now why it took so long to get this episode done. Okay, my friends, so next part of today's episode is that of zoning. You're going to see the map on your screen right now. By now, you know the rules. They're on the screen in case you need them, though. We have got 2 zones, basically, left to unlock. We have Zone B. You're going to see that on your screen right now. That's essentially for the backstage facilities and stuff like that, isn't it? The function suites. I'm also going to add 2 rectangles to that you're going to see over near the sort of tropical house area. Reason for that is I need these rectangles to complete the anteater's habitat. So that will obviously come as part of the Zone B area. And then Zone C is the second reptile centre, the second reptile sort of nursery / research centre, which is going to be just as important along the way as well. So do feel free, my friends, to vote on that should you wish. Like I've said already, I'm only offering up 2 zones because I want to get these zones finished before we start anything new in the zoo. And I am a little burnt out, I'm going to be honest, from working so hard on the South American area. So Zone B, like I said, function suites, backstage, plus anteater. And then Zone C is your research centre / reptile nursery part 2. And so, ladies and gents, we finished today's episode with a very, very small amount of zoo management. I'm literally going to do it from here because on Sunday, we're going to do a proper zoo management episode. So, yes, essentially what I should have said as well when we were doing the mapped area is basically when you pick your zone, make sure you leave me your ideas, leave your comments on what you would like to see done with those zones, and let me know of any changes that you would make as well to the facility. You just need to vote on your zone by leaving your comment in the comment section below. Animals is what I want to do. I have a little bit of work basically to sort out where these are concerned. As you can see, our tapirs, our monkeys, they're all in. We probably have some animals that need moving on. You will see our Gemsbok have given birth to a couple of new male Gemsbok. We're probably going to have to move them on, unfortunately. As you can see, we're going a bit crazy on the Gharials again. There is an anteater that I have adopted. He's in the trade centre. We just haven't been able to get him on exhibit yet. So here we go. This is what we do need to do. We need to move some gear monsters on because they will be a problem otherwise. Let's move those gear monsters on into the wild. We need to go back to that screen. I like to do it like this. I know like you could probably do all the animals at the same time, but I know what I'm doing if I do it this way. As you can see, our 5 frogs have not been breeding. They've only recently just been moved over. The flamingo population is ever growing. Our peacocks are all here. Habitat 41. I need to rename that habitat. That's in a box. We will let that out of the box. I think we will do that. Unbox that animal. We'll rename that habitat in a moment. They probably all need naming. As you can see, Komodos are going a little crazy. We do have Lehman's poison frogs as well now, ladies and gentlemen. They're part of that sort of reptile house. As you can see as well, the lemurs are breeding like mad. Got our tree frogs. The ringtail lemurs are breeding a lot more. You will see the salties have been breeding. And then we've got a multiple sort of anacondas now because over in the old reptile house we have, we've got more space to add more snakes. So actually there wasn't too much animal management to do. We just take a look at the exhibits. We need an eastern brown snake. I did realise that had perished basically. So let's go on here. Oh, this guy looks very good. Let's adopt you, and then you will be going over into the Eastern Brown Snake exhibit, which is that one there. So you are in. You are unboxed. We don't need to worry about that anymore. So yeah, we need to rename this habitat. So let's get that done. Jaguar done. That's finito. So we know that's been renamed. The others have been done, I think, already. So yeah, I think that's it. We didn't really have a lot of stuff to do where zoo management was concerned. Like, basically, I'm going to be honest with you, I've turned all the alerts off. There's a reason for it. It was mental, like absolutely mental. How much they're going off at the moment. Now, we've got lots to talk about where the zoo management episode is concerned on Sunday. One of the big things is risk of disease because habitats are not being cleaned efficiently enough anymore. We probably need more staff. I'm just going to show you our staff at the moment. Cleaners, I think we're okay, but this many zookeepers is not enough to look after the amount of animals we've got anymore. This is definitely not enough mechanics, and we probably do need more security. And I'm not sure if this is enough vets either, but yeah, I just feel like our staff levels are very low, and work zones are going to be a thing that's very, very, very much needed. I think we really need to work on this. I think we have to specialise our zookeepers. You know, I think we're going to have specialist people that look after, you know, your hooved animals, specialist people for reptiles, specialist people for amphibians, big cats, so on and so on. I think we've got to start getting work zones in and making it more of a specialist thing. Even for our mechanics, I think we need certain mechanics in certain areas to make sure that everything's being looked after correctly. But yeah, that was a very sort of quick part to this episode. I think I'm going to save the majority of it for Sunday. I am going to continue to work, by the way, on the foliage. So by the time we come Sunday, all this area should probably be finished. But let me know, ladies and gents, in the comment section below what you made of today's episode. It was a very, very long build section because there was so much to show you. I really hope you've liked it. I really hope you've enjoyed today's episode. Like I say, I'll see you Sunday for a zoo management episode. Then there's going to be 2 more after that are going to be cinematic and a zoo tour. So do look forward to those. But what I really need you to be doing, my friends, is in that comment section below, vote on the zone that you want to see done next, and then in the live streams we can start work on that. Obviously, I'll give it 24 hours, and then on the live streams, probably from next week, we can get cracking on whichever zone that you vote for. And be sure to keep leaving your comments in the comment section below. Any changes you would make to this, any additions you would make, any ideas you've got, that's where you put them, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm going to sign out. I'm going to give you a lovely overhead view of the tropical house in all of its glory. Maybe we could even go a little closer so you could maybe see the jaguars using their catwalk at some point. But yeah, I'm going to just leave you with this, ladies and gentlemen. I'm signing out. If you're new to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. Drop a like on the video if you've enjoyed it. In the description box below, you'll find all amazing stuff like my Discord, like my socials. Get involved, my friends. We're building such a wonderful community, and I'd love you to be part of it. But my friends, till next time, see you all later, and enjoy the rest of your day. Oh, yeah.